Spring Television. Ours it is.
All right, welcome to the show this morning. A very beautiful morning to you. Hope you had a very restful night. Hope you had a beautiful yesterday. And of course, we pray that you have a more beautiful today. Welcome to the show, Morning Spring on Western Spring Television, where we bring it to you as it is, where we help you make sense of happenings around you in the socio-political, socio-economic, and of course, socio-cultural spheres of your existence in this country as a Nigerian or a person living in Nigeria. Don't forget, we're reaching you live from StarTimes Channel 190, the DTT platform, and you can follow the conversation on our Facebook and Instagram handles at Western Spring Television, are showing on your screen right now, and on Twitter at WSTV_NG. You can also watch us live and subscribe to our YouTube on Western Spring Television. My name is Emmanuel Ujadugele, and it's a beautiful day in the studio this morning.
A lovely day, we should say. A lovely morning. Emmanuel loves counting downs. It seems it ended with the Yuletide, but it's about 6 days to the end of January.
Yeah, it's about, yes.
6 days.
I have quite two countdowns to
okay. So I hope you resume so that you just put us on our feet and let us know that this year is also running again. Femi Olanikwekun, my name is good to have you on Morning Spring. It's a Tuesday edition, and here we bring you up to speed about issues all around you. We're glad to be with you again. Like Emmanuel said, you can watch us live on channel 190 on your StarTimes DTT platform, and also check us out on YouTube. That's at Western Spring Television. We're set to make your morning great, and we also pray also that you have springs and your feet to succeed this morning. I'm not alone here.
Thanks for joining us this morning. I'm Temitope Adejola. Good morning.
Well, good morning. That's the set this morning. You can see the three of us looking very excited. Particularly, I'm looking excited.
I know you will be excited.
Anyway, talking about countdowns, like Femi said, it's 6 days to the end of the month. 5 days before the expiration of the duration for the collection of PVCs. It was on the 22nd, but INEC graciously extended by 1 week. So if you've not gotten your PVCs by now, you have 5 days to do that before the closure of that date. It's also 6 days to the deadline for the return of old currency notes. As of now, there's still no extension, so do well to please return those old notes that you have. So those are the three countdowns.
Yes, so what's with January and deadlines? A deadline for the cash,
yes.
the Naira notes, deadline for the PVCs. But it's more important for the PVCs. Some states actually announced public holidays. Abia, Ogun, and a couple of other states.
Ondo too. I think today is Ondo's public holiday.
Ondo also. We do not have public holidays here in Osun, but please make the best of your opportunity to get your PVCs. This election will be a defining moment, as other ones have been, but this particular one is even more important. So it's important that you get your PVCs, irrespective of the fact that we do not have public holidays here in Osun State. After work, you can go to your, INEC offices, and please do well to get your PVCs. You will have no moral right to criticize any government when they are elected and you do not participate in the process.
Well, so please do well to get your PVCs, and like we've always said on the show, remember to stay on the safe side of the law. Don't get into trouble. All right, we'll take a quick break now. When we return, we'll be bringing you the papers. All right, welcome back to the show. It's time to go straight to the national dailies. We'll begin with the Punch newspaper this morning. And the banner headline is quite a comical one. Power outage disrupts APC rally, stops Buhari, Tinubu's speeches. Two riders there. APC National Working Committee to probe incident says Bauchi rally successful. Buhari supporting Tinubu directed governors to ensure victory. I mean, the president has had a taste of our medicine.
It's sad as it is funny. So this happened at the highest level. The president, the number one citizen, being the victim this time. Now this is what we experience on a daily basis in our businesses, in our homes, and here it is happening to the governing party and to the number one man in the country. Power outage. How disturbing. and so it disrupted the rally. So who is going to take the blame this time? Who's going to take the fall? The contractor that started with the responsibility of power, or what? So it is inefficiency, ineffectiveness manifesting at the highest level. Someone somewhere perhaps got a contract to, a vendor to manage that particular event, but it also speaks to a national malaise, the fact that we do not have regular power supply. So most times we fall back on the backups, but I guess the backups also failed this time.
Or maybe there were no backups at all.
Maybe
because they were not expecting that there would be power outage at the event. And probably the committee should be blamed here for everything. But it's Nigeria.
So they're going to probe. So let's get to see what. I hope they make the probe report public.
Yes. I remember this happened in 2017 to the vice president at one of the event centers here in Osogbo. He was having an event. It was around the Youth Day thing. Had an event with co-members, and then there was power outage. He had to wait for about 10-15 minutes. So the two, the number one and number two men in the country have had a taste of breakfast in terms of power outage.
It happened before, even before this administration. I remember former President Jonathan also suffered the same fate at some point. A difference as well. I believe strongly that the Nigerian president that succeeds in fixing our power problem will become a legend.
Yes, a legend.
That's perhaps our biggest problem. One of our biggest problems. So if one president is fortunate enough to fix the power problem, his name will be written in gold.
Yes, but that's true. Now, away from Bauchi and the campaign, some very interesting pictures coming out from Lagos. As you can see, Lagos projects jobs as president opens rice mill and seaport. The motor rice mill got commissioned, as we like to say here in Nigeria, yesterday. And the government has said it will create employment, which of course is true. But very interesting and quite encouraging news from Lagos yesterday.
Yeah, very interesting. And so it speaks to the fact that Lagos is the commercial nerve center of the country. GOPS the biggest chunk of the FDIs, yet another company or two other companies, and these are big companies. Big commercial interest. The deep sea port perhaps will also ease up the pressure on Apapa.
Yes.
But then also look at the concern about what will happen to the Lekki corridor, in terms of the, traffic bottleneck that we know Apapa, but on the good side is this is a huge project that's been completed now, and it opens up another vista for the Nigerian economy. And for the rice mill, one of the promoters said it's the biggest rice mill in Africa. But we'd like to bandy some of these
figures and words.
Well, we only hope that there won't be, maladministration in this particular, the rice mill and the seaport.
Okay, away from Lagos now, Nigerians now have alternative to APC and PDP. It's coming from presidential candidate of the NNPP, Rabiu Kwakwan. So, page 14 of the Punch newspaper, if you want to get more on that story. Doctors working for highly connected people, FNAB graduate. It's on page 3, the rising cases of kidnapping. It's not something novel or new to the Nigerian system, but it's just been very terrible this time. Before now, it used to be wealthy people who were people who can afford the ransom that were kidnapped. But now even farmers and students are being grabbed. And that's
sad. We've been here before. I remember sometimes during President Goodluck Jonathan's administration, at the height of the kidnapping crisis in the East then, there was a time one notorious criminal, Osisi Kanku, reigned supreme then. They were kidnapping people for 5,000 naira. So they kidnapped the high and the mighty. They also kidnapped, so there are some little job for the boys. People were leaving their homes to go and stay in hotels. at that time. So, you know, people's kids are kidnapped, and then they say, if you want your kid to go return from school to home, you need to pay this 5,000 naira. I mean, so it's hard, you know. Like you said, it was initially something about the wealthy, something about those who have the money. Now it's everyone. I mean, look at what happened in the last week.
And here it's not sure. Yes.
You know, who are said to have been kidnapped. So it's everywhere. Kidnapping is in respecter of your status.
Yes.
It's hard.
On page 8 of the Punch newspaper, diphtheria, federal government deploys response team as cases rise. But we did give you a little bit of insight into what the disease looks like yesterday, and the preventive measures, just similar to that of the COVID-19. But then before preventive measures, the federal government is now trying to take steps that should have been, I believe, should have been taken earlier, because Kano was in the news for a couple of days, you know, before it began spreading elsewhere. So if Kano had been tackled, if they had, you know, pegged it to Kano and then solved it there, it probably would not have left Kano. Okay, and away from that story now, above the nameplate, cash swap, CBN bars Abuja Lagos POS operators, page 19. I wonder why that move was taken to bar POS operators. I mean, these are like the bridge, or the bridges between the banks and the people. But you know,
there's something that comes to mind, Emmanuel. You know, when Nigerian decision makers, it appears that their default setting in terms of
response to issues
is ban. You know, so your bank would deem your bank. We appear to be intellectually lazy as a people to dig deeper, look for solutions, think through problems, and resolve the issues. But all we do is ban suspend, you know, all manner of those. So this, what would this ban do?
I really have no idea.
You read it.
The POS operators are not the ones who
disburse this money. Because I think the excuse now would be that these POS operators are still giving out the old notes. But then they go to banks to get the notes, and the banks are still dispensing old notes as of today.
Yes. So why are you should bar the banks instead of the POS?
Exactly, or CBN itself.
Because the POS operators get cash from the banks, and it's 6 days, 5 days to 7-8 days, you know, you still don't have the new. I got hold of the 1,000 notes yesterday for the second time since December. And that's not because
framed. Yeah. Hope it's not the one that
no, I spent it already. No, it was 1,000, not 1,005 naira.
Okay,
so I got that one.
Okay, you know, there was also a time in Abuja, if you remember, at the beginning of this administration, when dollar and naira were playing games, and then one of the responses was to go and cut the trees. There was the tree in front of, you know, around, we'll say, in front of Sheraton,
where the BDC
operators operate, and say maybe they should cut it. I wonder what kind of thinking is that?
Taking away oxygen from the people.
And how will that arrest the decline of the naira?
They will just simply move somewhere else and continue their business.
Goodness.
Well, not so cheery news. Federal government forecasts fresh flooding in Plateau, Bayelsa, others, as on page 20 of the Punch newspaper. We hope that the government is ready to handle whatever flooding may come this year. We hope that measures are being put in place. 2022 was pretty devastating. Really, really devastating.
Okay, I mean, so we'll talk about the next paper.
Yeah, there's a last story.
Yeah, before we move on from the Punch, the aviation union strike stirs Lagos airport commotion. You can see pictures of passengers sleeping on the ground. I mean, this is not peculiar to Nigeria. Sometime last year, early this year, there was a strike in the US and in the UK, and numbers of flights were grounded. I think aviation workers are waking up to the fact that they also could be treated much more better, and they're demanding better.
But everyone wants to be treated better, whether the nurses, doctors, everyone. Even money wants to be treated better.
Oh, of course. I need a vacation, 6 months.
It is a pay hike. Is it a vacation you need, or a pay rise?
A pay rise, 6 month vacation twice a year, you know.
Oh, okay. And I think we'll look into that.
All right, so move on from the Punch.
All right, moving on quickly to the Daily Trust this morning. The banner headline says, Nigerians fear massive losses as deadline draws near. The riders, business owners give January 25 deadline. Food prices soar as traders reject old notes. family rejects old notes as bride price. That's quite
That's
hilarious.
a funny one there.
Yes. And then, the massive fear, of the losses is really very imminent right now, because yes, people are going to lose money. There are some people who can take their money to banks, for fear of,
Well, I hope that we have researchers, also looking into the kind of dynamics we have in the coming days between the spenders, buyers, especially traders, those who will be exchanging these notes for the old notes, because evidently the new notes will not circulate well enough by the 31st.
Yes.
And I can place my bet on it. I don't know if Emmanuel is interested, that the CBN will be forced to do an extension.
Oh, they will. They have no choice.
So,
they don't have a choice.
But it will be interesting. I will look at that last ride, a family rejecting the old notes for bride price. So are we going to return the bride, or what exactly is going to happen? So you need to just look at or envisage the kind of friction that will happen in the coming days if the situation is not well managed.
Families and the nation across
I've had stories of other riders rejecting the new notes or the old notes, depending on the situation. But instances of some businesses are saying tomorrow is the deadline. My kid's school gave a notice that monies should not be paid in cash again. That all monies for school fees should be paid into the bank, because they're also avoiding getting or having the old notes before the end
stock.
So there'll be friction here and there. I hope that the Nigerian authorities and the monetary authorities are able to manage it well. But it appears that the deadline is unavoidable. I mean, the extension rather is unavoidable.
Well, that last rider is an excuse for those who are yet to get married. I don't have the new notes now, so when I have it, I'll come for your daughter. I'll just give your daughter for now.
All right, moving just below the newspaper. Airlines count losses, passengers stranded as workers ground airports. We see that on page 6.
Sorry, your eyes. So sorry.
When I saw that coming, many friends really got caught up in these mess. But like Emmanuel said, everyone wants better working conditions, really. But I think it was also quickly resolved.
Yes.
I think the flights resumed yesterday, and NACO said they are talking, to resolve these amicably and maybe permanently.
All right. Okay. Crowd overwhelms security, forces Tinubu's rally to abrupt end. We spoke about that on the
So this is another angle.
Yes.
The initial angle on the Punching and Vanguard is about
the power outage.
So now it's about the crowd. So the crowd is massive.
Massive enough to force an abrupt end with no threat to the lives of the candidate or the VIPs. I don't buy that.
No, but do you buy the power outage?
Oh, I do buy it.
You want to buy that? You don't buy the crowd angle?
Yes, because political parties
are always
about the crowd. They are always about 1 million people came out today, 5 million people came out yesterday. So I'm wondering why your crowd overwhelm your security.
And have you ever wondered how political parties get to do a census of the number of persons that they can bring?
That's another thing.
We had 1 million people attended our rally, and I saw a letter of a political party announcing that
7 million people.
I wonder how they did the research.
Maybe there's a tally that is being given to the crowd.
7 million people.
No, and a schemo.
Just beside that news, 662 killed, 2.4 million displaced by flood in 2022. That's NEMA DG said so. That's on page 22. But that's really a great figure, 662. And 2.4 million displaced by flood in 2022. And now we have a fresh threat of flood this year, and we don't know what will happen. If last year gave us 2.4 million, we don't know. We don't know what will happen this year. We're only hoping that the numbers will be brought down this time.
Yes, and like we always do in Nigeria, we hope to God that these things will not get worse. But we also hope that the government will take responsibility this time, and that also our people would be very cautious about purchasing their land. That's been some of the arguments by the government, that people buy land close to coastlines, people dredge and then try to chase the rivers, and the rivers come back to take their land. But some of these issues are also because of our negligence as people. So we need to show up all fronts. It boils down to the
fact that we all have our duties, our roles to play.
Yes.
All right. On page 23, I think, yes, NIMET recovering, digitizing 130-year-old weather data.
130-year-old weather data. I mean, I wonder what would have led to that, to get more on that story.
I'm sorry, you look to the past to predict the future.
The future, yes.
Evidently, you need to, digitize what you have so that we move from the manual operation. Maybe get faster, get more accurate figures, accurate predictions of what happens in the future, really. Yeah.
All right. All right, just below the nameplate, and an NPC begins training of 786,741 workers for census. All right, the census is going to begin very soon, and this
training is going on.
Yes, more like taking.
No, for the census, do we have to all travel to our villages?
No, you do not. Okay. No, nobody. Don't bother going to this. They will count you here,
and then send out.
Okay, as part of us, yeah.
Okay. Yes, well, I'm wondering what happens if everybody goes, and then who will run the show on that?
No. You'll be counted where you are, where you're based.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Excitement as Buhari commissions $1.5 billion Lekki Deep Sea Port.
Massive investment.
Yes,
massive investment. Massive investment.
We now look forward to proper handling of that to avoid issues.
It's a major concern.
Yes, to avoid the issues.
Ohaneze places 37 million naira bounty on IPOB leader Ekpa.
Interesting story there, actually. It's on the trend for this morning. After this $50,000, I think, 37 million naira bounty on IPOB leader Ekpa because of his antics and some of the things he has said and how he threatens the Indigo. But immediately he responded, issued a letter, and was asking people, the Biafrans, to forgive the Ohaneze Indigo, for they know not what they are doing. Yes, and said that there is no need to declare him wanted or all of that. And you need to see how people were in support of this guy on Twitter, on Facebook. A lot of persons were. I keep wondering, this is a person who is inciting violence. This is a person who is inciting destruction, and you are in support. Well, Adolf Hitler has had supporters.
Even the devil
still has. Yeah, even the devil. Yeah, so
the devil has supporters. I mean, it's a shame. It's sad, but it's also good that Ohaneze, as a body, is coming out strong against Simon Ekpa. He stays in Finland, causes problems for his kinsmen here. You get funds, you funnel funds here for insurrectionist activities, leading to loss of lives and property. How I wish. I do not know how it works, but for international diplomacy, I feel the Nigerian government should be able to do something with the Finnish government or the European Union and get this man to rein in his war rhetorics. It's causing a lot of harm. It's leading to loss of lives. It's turning the southeast into something else.
There was even talks of the election not holding. As he was saying, yes, was saying that. If we get him angry or something, they may decide to close down the East on the election day. And I'm wondering how one person has such power. Even now, they kind of seems to have lost his influence on IPOB. So I wonder, maybe because IPOB now, the Biafrans and all of that are more interested in something that is quite agitating. And Kanu is probably trying to tread softly after his ordeals with the government in prison and all of that. Maybe Ekpa needs that kind of treatment.
Well, we should also stress that in the interest of those who may think along this line for future, that you only know the beginning of some of these insurrections. You do not know the end. So when it started, a lot of people that supported them, IPOB and of them, some of them have become victims now. The best way to resolve it, if you want to secede, you want to break away, is through dialogue. And there were people who advised at the beginning that, okay, so why not, let's deploy the goodwill of the IPOB to supporting a political party. So the political party can get into the National Assembly and push for an amendment of the Constitution, push for a referendum, use the same position to elect governors. and let these governors begin to work. Let there be a roadmap. This is what we want. Like you have the Scottish National Party.
Yes.
I mean, in the UK, they push for what is good for their region. And so this should be the way to go, not fighting. And that's why perhaps, gratefully, that here in the Southwest, the issue of Sunday Igboho seems to have been better managed.
Yes.
It was his agitation that led to the formation of Amotekun. Brought down some of those agitations. Because what also fuels the social stress is injustice, people's feeling of injustice, people's feeling of, repression, and, marginalization, but nonetheless, two wrongs do not make a right.
Yes, of course. And we hope that EPA situation can be handled. Yes.
All right, quickly before we leave the Daily Trust this morning, we still have 11 schoolgirls of the FGC Benin Yauri in captivity. They've spent 588 days now. And we have a student of Bethel Baptist High School, Kujama, and who have spent 560 days today. We hope that the government would do something quick to get these people rescued.
Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so let's move on to the Guardian newspaper now. The Guardian newspaper. The banner headline: 65 million naira lost as NPA shuts Lagos port over Buhari's visit. 65 million naira lost as NPA shuts Lagos port over Buhari's visit. With the riders, freight forwarders kick as cargoes get trapped. Please unleash docks on them. Buhari commissions $1.5 billion Lekki Port, Lagos rice mill. Lekki Port can handle 4 times Apapa tin can cargoes.
I think you mentioned something like this yesterday, Femi, about why we need to shut down some parts of the state, why we need to shut down so many things because the president is visiting.
I mean, it's nonsensical.
Yes.
So I mean, look at the Guardian is always focused. The Guardian is like the beast state, is always focused on the economic side of issues. Look at what was lost.
65 million naira.
The cargoes are trapped now. There are persons who wanted to take deliveries yesterday. They couldn't do that. There are businesses that have been affected. People whose customers will rain curses on them, and the ripple effect of some of these things are it's lost on the government and government officials, and that's why they don't care, because they are not affected by it.
But so I'm also surprised as to how it came to the MPA. The president came to Lekki. We're talking about Papa here.
Yes.
So was it that the staff at the Papa and moved over to Lekki to welcome the president? Why shut down operation to open another one? It's a no-brainer.
At all. The MPA, according to the story, began a strict access control into the PTML area of the Tinkan Island port since last weekend due to the 2-day working visit of the
so the president visited the tank farm there.
Yes, and then they started this since last weekend due to a 2-day working visit. I don't understand it, honestly.
So they unleashed dogs
on freight forwarders. Nigeria is just a theater of the absurd.
So I do not know. A theater of absurd. You've said ordinary Britons meet with their prime ministers. They get to meet at the supermarket. Unless they fly the same flight.
Yes, that's why Emmanuel Macron got slapped twice. So
that's not good. I don't know why you're making that comparison.
No, what I'm saying is these people have access. They're very accessible. You can get up close and personal.
Up close and personal.
Ask them questions. We see kids and some persons stopping the prime minister and talk. Even the town Downing Street opens directly into the street. You come out from your office as prime minister and you're walking directly into the street. People can see. I
remember David Cameron on a commercial BA flight. There has to be security. But can you, for the life, can you ever imagine you getting close 50 meters to the president?
Even as journalists, you don't have that access. Not to talk of ordinary people.
Okay, so moving on, just below the nameplate, I never made comment on northern domination of Nigeria, says Shoyinka, trying to, controvert some fake news there. PSC denies supporting elongation of IGP's tenure. Nigeria records 123 confirmed cases of diphtheria, 38 deaths. IPOB suspends Kingsley Kanu over infractions, anti-group activities. You know, so it appears that the IPOB is split into as much as 3 different groups now.
Yes.
Yeah. And then just below, air travelers stranded as NACO workers town tools over poor pay. And finally, on the Guardian newspaper, there is a focus on issues, YC and Afenifere telling politicians, focus on issues-based campaigns, stop outburst of anger. That's on page 5 of the paper. And one of the pictures on the front page of the paper, aside the one of the president commissioning the Lekki or arriving the presidential wing of the Muritala Muhammad International Airport in company of some of the governors of the Southwest, we have the issue of international air travelers stranded at the Lagos airport because of the industrial action by INACO yesterday.
Well, that's that on the Guardian newspaper. I don't think we'll have time to take the Nation, but you can get the Nation newspaper and see for yourself some stories there about Buhari's declaration in Bauchi, NAFDAC warning that excessive fasting destroys the kidney and the liver, farmers abducted in Osun, the COVID-19 incoming travelers to provide vaccination evidence. And those are the stories on the Nation this morning. Ex-Amotekun boss alleges threat to life. That's in Osun State here. We remain non-partisan. INEC assures electronic transmission stays. Interestingly, some senators were said to have voted against the use of beavers recently. Very, very interesting one there. You wonder what they have to hide. Courts to DSS, charge terrorist negotiator Sukomamu on page 5. Those are the stories on the Nation newspaper this morning. Well, that's the newspaper segment of the show. We'll be coming back after the break to bring you the interview segment. We'll be looking at some issues happening right here in Osun State concerning the education sector and some teachers in the state. Do stay with us.
Turn it up! It's the Wild Wild West, and Western Spring Television is pulling out all the stops to make sure that you don't miss out on every of the fun and happenings around you. Yup, we've got you covered because your girl got all the juiciest tidbits and entertainment news from around the world. Cross over to the chocolatey side of entertainment. Join me, Chocolate Cassie, on Eccentric as we take you into every bit of the juiciest news, fashion, music, movie updates, and other trending conversations. Together on the show, we'll get personal with your favorite celebrities via phone call, Zoom, or even live here in the studio. Eccentric will be shown on your TV screen on Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on StarTimes.
Silas Olayinka Herbert Macaulay, politician, nationalist and journalist, was the first Nigerian to qualify as a civil engineer, surveyor and architect. Born on November 14, 1864, Herbert Macaulay was the founder of Nigeria's National Democratic Party, the first political party in pre-independent Nigeria. Scholars of Nigeria's political history describe Herbert Macaulay as the intellectual bulldog of 19th century Nigerian nationalist movement, in the deference to his qualities as founder and leader of two foremost political parties, Nigeria National Democratic Party (NNDP) and National Council of Nigerian Citizens (NCNC). His matchless versatility in party organization and control kept the British colonialists on their toes in the entire span of his active life. After his death on 7th May 1946, Herbert Macaulay remains a hero of his country, which recognized his anti-colonial struggles. Today, Nigeria's 10 Naira coin bears his oval face and trademark moustache. Western Spring Television identifies Herbert Macaulay as a major character in history.
According to the words of Michael Forbes, one who never asks questions either knows everything or nothing. Watch me as I ask the questions you think no one wants to answer. Even questions it appears no one has got the guts to ask. My name is Femi Adefila and I've got the gut. Let's ask the pertinent questions and watch as we get answers.
21 years after World War I, the world was again thrown into the horror of another war. In September 1939, vast majority of nations across the world, including the great powers, took up arms against themselves, from which emerged two opposing military powers. Between 40 and 80 million human souls perished in the 6-year war spread across Soviet Union, Germany, Poland, Japan, Yugoslavia, the Dutch and East Indies. The casualty figures did not include the 6 million Jews that were gassed to death on the orders of Adolf Hitler at various Nazi camps. It must be stated here that the United States of America played a dominant role in World War II, but the three Allied powers played roles that ended in victory over Germany. Britain's most significant contribution to the cause of World War II was her survival of Adolf Hitler's Armada in 1940. Western Spring Television identifies World War II as a watershed event in history. Born Jeremiah Oyeni Obafemi on March 6, 1905, Obafemi Awolowo was a prime architect of Nigeria's independence and most consummate advocate of free education and social welfare in Africa's most populous nation. Erudite politician, thinker and philosopher, Awo was fondly addressed by associates and political colleagues, brought his unique attributes to bear on governance in the defunct Western region. He administered as leader of government business and the premier between 1955 and 1958. Obafemi Awolowo's premiership witnessed pioneering in multi-sectoral policy initiatives and execution. The Western region under his administration paraded several enviable records. First television station in Africa, first real estate in Nigeria, first high-rise building in Nigeria, first modern sports stadium in Nigeria, first agricultural settlement in Nigeria, first modern civil service secretariat in Nigeria, and first industrial estate in Nigeria. His face is on 100 Naira denomination as a mark of honor for his distinguished services to his country. Western Spring Television identifies Obafemi Awolowo as a major character in history.
Can you imagine the feeling when you get your news as the break with facts and clarity? Our news are reported as it is.
In Africa, and all those who masterminded the way it happened, we have to pay a price.
Enjoy Western programs, projecting culture and tradition to the world. Brought to you as the break and recapped every hour for your update.
We must never forget the sacrifices of the heroes of Nigeria's democracy.
Produced and brought to you in a unique way never before seen.
Western Spring.
Western Spring.
And Western Spring Television.
Television is coming home in your color and culture.
Evelyn Ohiole, King Eve. How are you today?
I'm good, I'm fine, I'm alive.
I really feel like she's not giving the right answer to the question. When one asks you, how are you? And you said, you're saying, I'm alive. It's very annoying, seriously. How are you? I'm fine. I feel I'm fine will be the right answer instead of I'm alive. Not that I asked you if you're dead before.
Go and check all these 14-year-old, 15-year-old, 16-year-old, everybody, they are extraordinarily sexually active.
I feel is being unnecessarily hyper when it comes to the issue of sex. Because we talk about other topics and it feels so reserved. It really doesn't have anything much to say when it comes to other stuff. But when it's the issue of sex, I believe it's being unnecessarily hyper. That's when I have to pick an issue with.
Your Excellency, sir, it will be of great concern to know that the effect of nullifying our appointment as class teachers had already been felt, as we have recorded no fewer than 4 deaths among us as a result of depression of nullifying the appointment as class teachers. Your Excellency, sir, save our soul and have mercy on us. We are your children and siblings. There are great numbers of dependents on us, nullifying or terminating our appointment as such a title like this is like being thrown into the sea of hopelessness.
All right, so thank you so much for staying with us. It's on to Morning Spring, and it's coming to you from Western Spring Television. Well, so our guests are with us in the studios now. This issue of the teachers recruited by the last administration of Gboyega Oyetola and what the current administration of Ademola Adeleke is going to do with them, it's been a running one. And so the teachers came out yesterday after, reports that they've been sacked or that their appointment will not be regularized. The teachers came together and addressed the press yesterday. The convener and leader, Wasiu Owuyemi, spoke to journalists yesterday, and he explained the situation about the fact that they were recruited, that they followed due process, and even said because of this threat of them losing their jobs, about 4 of them have since died. Well, we have one of the teachers with us here in the studios. We'll get to know what exactly is the situation with them, did the appointment and recruitment follow due process? And why should the current government not do away with them? We have joining us here, Mr. Olalekun Adewale is a teacher. He's one of the affected teachers. Thank you so much for joining us on Morning Spring on Western Spring.
Thank you very much, Mr. Femi.
Thank you. Well, so what's the situation? Explain to us what the situation really is as of today. Are you a bona fide teacher and the employee of the Osun State government, or you and your colleagues have been sacked?
Thank you very much. As at now, we don't believe we have been sacked because the recruitment process that brought us to the teaching service in the state went through the due processes and procedures. And let me just give you a background as to the recruitment into the state teaching service. In March 2020, the announcement was made by the Ministry of Education as to the recruitment of teachers into the state civil service.
March 2020.
March 2020.
Okay.
Yes. And this announcement was ratified by the state executive meeting around that March 2020. Thereafter, it was categorically stated at the ESCO meeting that the recruitment will be done in batches. So at that point, it was categorically stated that the recruitment will be in batches. So, and the recruitment was widely advertised in both the print media and broadcast media. So it gave a wider coverage at that time. So thereafter, we were asked to purchase a recruitment pin from the Ministry of Education at the rate of 3,000 naira.
3,000
naira.
And when was that?
That was around that March 2020.
March 2020.
Of course, yes. So thereafter, when we purchased the e-recruitment pin, we are asked to complete the registration online. And let me state at this point that will be the first time the recruitment into the state teaching service will be done online. Thereafter, after we completed the registration online, shortly the COVID-19 setting and followed by the NSAS. So these two actually affected the recruitment process. So it was discontinued at that point. So after, and we all know that COVID-19 took about almost a year. So they couldn't complete the recruitment process then. So in 2021, around February, we received a message from the Ministry of Education that we should all go for a CBT exam. And this exam was conducted by JAMB. And it must be stated also that this will be the first time the recruitment into the state teaching service will be conducted by the JAMB. Thereafter, after we did the test, in fact, you can imagine the stress we went through during the time, because like for me, I'm from Hudoti, and I had my exam at Jabu Ikeji. You can imagine the distance, and it was unfortunate that during this time some of the applicants were involved in the fatal accident. In fact, we lose some of the applicants to accident that time. So thereafter, after the CBT exam, the results were released and the cutoff mark was set. The range was for those who scored between 35 and 39. They are designed to be teaching at in a primary school level, that is the basic school level, and those who score above 40 are to teach at post-basic school level. So thereafter, we were called for interviewed. Interviews were conducted by seasoned teacher, supervised by the Ministry of Education, TESCOM, SUPEP, and Tempo. So after that, but during the interview, our results was screened, and we did micro teaching as well to test the competency and capability of the applicants. So all those process went through a normal and require ministry by the Ministry of Education standard. So after the interview in January 2022, the name of the successful applicants were released, and they got a message that their application was successful. So those for the first batch of the recruitment. And I told you earlier that the recruitment was designed in 2 batches. So the first stage of the first 1,000 batch was completed around January.
Okay, so just get something clear. January 2022.
Yes.
How many successful candidates were announced?
The 1,000.
It was only just 1,000.
Yes, successful applicants for that first batch.
For the first batch.
For the first batch.
It was announced that it was the first batch then.
Yes, of course.
So it's only 1,000.
1,000.
Okay.
So thereafter, the subsequent one of we that we fall into such category of 1,500 was announced around September 2022. So that was after the July 17 governorship election. But I want to emphasize this.
So
and
sorry,
I want
is it 1,005 or 2,005?
Altogether is 2005.
Okay.
Including the previous one.
Including the previous one.
Oh. Okay.
The first batch was 1,000 and the second batch 1,500.
So the 1,500, I mean the second batch, did you undergo another set of interviews and screenings, or it was taken from the first screening done?
It was taken from the first screening. So there wasn't any separate interview. The interview were done with those who did those applicants for the first batch. So they only pick from those who were successful from the first screening and interview they did. So that was how
there is a pool of successful applicants.
Of course.
1,000 was taken for the first
batch. Yes.
Then the remaining 1,005 were announced in September 2022 after the election.
Yes.
And so are you sure that the 1,500 that were picked in September 2022, all of you also made a cutoff?
Of course.
All of you also passed.
Of course. Of course. We have the evidence. We have the evidence with us. I can produce my own now.
What was your own score, for instance?
I scored 41. And for we that score between 40 and above, we are designed for post-basic.
You scored 41?
Yes, of course.
So you are meant to be part of those who will teach in the secondary school?
Yes, of course.
Those who scored 39 and...
35 to 39.
35 to 39.
Are for post-basic school level.
But so, I mean, what about these news? Reports that most of you that belongs to the second batch were APC members, that the outgone government just, peopled into, or, just brought into the system to cause some trouble for the incoming administration.
That is untrue. We are neither belong to any political party. And the recruitment was done without any political coloration, affiliation. We don't know anybody. All we know that we are professional teachers. They should count us out from any political gimmicks. We are professional teachers and we are ready to do the work we have the passion for. We are professional teachers. We don't belong to any political party.
So since, before Emmanuel comes in, since September 2022, when your names were announced, were you given employment letters?
Yes. Then? Employment letter was issued to us.
September?
Yes.
September what?
September 30th.
September 30th?
Yes.
So before the Oyetola administration left, were you paid any salary at all?
We were not paid. Though we were captured. We have been fully captured. All the documentation has been done, including the capturing. We have state code. State code has been issued to us. So we were even expecting salary before the expiration of Governor Gboyega Oyetola.
Have you been deployed to schools?
We have been deployed. In fact, we have started teaching.
Since when?
Immediately, appointment letter was issued to us.
So you're saying from the first week of October, all of you resumed the different schools?
Yes.
And you've been teaching?
Yes.
Up till now?
Up till now.
Are you still in the schools now?
We are still in the school. We are still teaching because we were asked to wait for the report of the committee set up by the governor, Senator Nurudeen Ademola Adeleke. In fact, during the interview you had with Malam Olawale Rasheed, just immediately after the executive order was announced, he said categorically that they have not sacked any workers in the state. That those employed by Alhaji Igboyega Oyetola, they are still in the service, that they have not sacked anybody. So we are still following the directive up to this moment. So because they said that we should wait, should wait for the report of audit promotion and appointment committee.
All right. So have you now received any official communication to terminate your appointment?
We have not received any official communication terminating of our appointment up to this moment.
Okay. So why are you now addressing the press?
Yes. We have waited so long. The committee that was set up were given 3 weeks to round up their findings and made their recommendations to the governor. But we are in the 8th week now. We have not heard from other committees set up by the governor. They have submitted their reports, their findings and their recommendations to. So why is it only the audit, promotion and appointment have not submitted their findings and recommendations up to this moment? This is the 8th week. The students, they are waiting for us. Some of them, they are hiding in the class. In fact, they were very happy when they see us. Some subjects have been left untouched. When I look at the notebook of my students, it was blank and almost to the end of the time. Why will a notebook be blank like this? We shouldn't play politics with the life of our children.
Well, if I get you clearly now, you are only trying to preempt trying to prompt the committee to submit their report. But if you are currently still working, you've not been removed from your jobs, why don't you just wait for the committee to bring out to submit its report and let that be made public first before your agitations?
Yes, as I said earlier, the report committee was given just 3 weeks. We are now in 8th week. We have not been communicated. It's like we are just put in darkness.
Well, you still been teaching?
We are still teaching.
Okay.
We are still teaching. But I heard there was a communication just yesterday that one assistant to the governor said that those who were employed by the past government, they remain sacked. That statement was issued yesterday.
Was it an official communication or just some grapevine information that you heard?
It's viral, and it was signed by this assistant.
Do you have a name? Do you have a copy of that statement?
Okay, the name is Busari. I think Busari something. I can't recall.
That's the name of the official
that signed that statement.
Yes.
But you as teachers have not gotten any form of.
We have not got any formal communication terminating our appointment up to this moment.
Okay, so the other 1,000 teachers who have been employed, do they also have the same issue? Do they have the same fear?
No. The politics around it is this. During after the governorship election, it was believed that those who were employed by the past administration were fixed to put a pressure, in fact, a financial burden to the incoming governor, the present governor. That was the belief. But as far as we teachers, 2,500 recruited teachers is concerned, we believe that our recruitment followed due process from day one. Because everything was on pipeline. it follows due process from day one.
All right. So you said you got your letter of appointment on the 30th of September.
Of course.
So around what time were you captured and enrolled into the state payroll?
We were captured around late October, if I'm correct. Late October. We were captured late October.
And like he asked, you've not gotten any.
We've not gotten any remuneration up to this moment.
Okay, so now that your statement is in the public domain, I'd like to take you back to part of the things that was said by Mr. Oyemi, that some subjects were reintroduced and there were shortages somewhere and some subjects were reinforced. What subjects were abandoned? What was the situation when you got into the service?
The situation was very, very bad. In fact, I was like crying when I resumed at my school.
What school is that?
We have subjects. We have subjects like mathematics, economics, biology that they don't have teachers for.
For how long?
Let me tell you, we may have enough teacher in Osogbo. Let's be sincere with ourselves. But all those remote town villages, they don't have teachers. You should go for findings. We may have enough teachers in Osogbo, but go to all those rural areas. In the school I was deployed to, they have only 5 teachers, including the principal.
5 teachers.
5 teachers.
What school is that?
I would not like to mention the name of the school.
So how many students do you have in that school? Like, the population? Can you?
The population of the students. Yes. I don't have the population.
Okay, so is it basic one? You teach in the secondary school?
Of course,
so
of course.
GSS1 to
GSS1 to SS3.
Just 5 teachers?
Yes. Just 5 teachers. Just 5 teachers. That is so pathetic. That is so pathetic.
All right.
We must not, the education is very, very important. And these students, they are our future. We must not play any politics. Education should be very, very different from all. If you are playing politics, we should not mingle politics with education. They are our future. For instance, if a student is left unattended to in the class, what is the essence of going to school? That is when we have them roaming the streets. Some are in the jungles, some are in the bush, when they don't have teachers to attend to them. It is high time we take the issues of education very, very seriously in this state, so that we will have a good performance. Look at our external exam results. The last rating in the state, it was so pathetic. So it is high time now we come together and face the challenges bedeviling our educational sector.
All right. So as we move, because we're out of time already, just like to clarify, 2,500 teachers. Does this affect the other 1,000 employed earlier on? Have those ones, are they paid their own salaries as and when due?
They are already in the system.
Okay, so
they have been streamlined. The first 1,000 has been streamlined into the system.
Okay.
They are not affected. It's only affected we that falls under the second category of second batch, 1,500 second batch.
And you're saying your employment follows due process?
Due process from day one. From day one, it follows due process. It was announced. It was announced. It was advertised. We paid for it. We paid for the purchase of e-recruitment pin. The exam was conducted by the JAMB. Can you imagine if a recruitment that involved JAMB? Can we call that recruitment illegal recruitment? The recruitment that went through Ministry of Education, can we call that illegal recruitment? Recruitment that went through SUPEP, TESCOM, TEMPO, can we call that illegal
Is it possible that there are people who did not participate in this process who also got admitted into the system in September? Those who did not participate in the JAMB, in the CBT, in all of the screenings, that perhaps were employed alongside you guys in September?
I'm not privy to that, but the records are there.
What records? Yeah,
they can do the findings. Those who apply for the recruitment, those who made the cutoff mark, the records are there. They can fetch the record from the JAMB. from the Ministry of Education.
All right. Okay, so I mean, we'll be getting to hear from government also, but we'd like to thank you most sincerely for joining us this morning. Mr. Olalekan Adewale is one of the affected teachers, the 1,500 teachers employed in the twilight of the Gboyega Oyetola administration. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you, Mr. Femi.
Thank you very much. So we'll take a short break. When we return, we'll be getting our other guests to join us on the program.
The history of guns is traced to China. The Chinese had developed a technology civilization that produced devices identified as guns at about 1000 AD. By the end of the 13th century, the devices had become true guns and described as metal barrel firearms that fired single projectiles which occluded the barrel. When did gun become an instrument of war? The first battles to be decided by firearms were between French and Spanish soldiers. The early 16th century warfare included Magnano in 1515, Bicocca in 1522, and Pavia in 1525. The wars were fought in Italy. The gun is a weapon of destruction and death, but humanity sees it as a potent instrument of family destruction. People with guns feel safer even if they don't display it. Western Spring Television identifies history of guns as a watershed event in history.
Arrested, affected, sound, found. What do we see? What do we say? Flowing from a spring. A fact A to Z. Check and confirm. Eva is pounding current events. Traveling down from the business gist to the globally arising happenings, to the sports news, to the bittersweet infos. Guided transmission, even diffusion, vast and fast. Detailed facts are fled. Within seconds, nuggets of words that flew across borders are fired. Stories short and long, wrapped in bundles of words, broken and dissected as it is, except misheard. This is the news as it is.
Western Spring Television, ours it is.
According to the words of Michael Forbes, one who never asks questions either knows everything or nothing. Watch me as I ask the questions you think no one wants to answer. Even questions it appears no one has got the guts to ask. My name is Femi Adefila and I've got the gut. Let's ask the pertinent questions and watch as we get answers.
Thank you so much for staying with us. You're on to Morning Spring, and it's coming to you from Western Spring Television, where we're continuing with the conversation around the controversies or the protests around the recruitment of teachers and whether they've been sacked or not. We're joined in the studio at this point by the chairman of the Staff Audit Appointments Promotions Review Committee, set up by Governor Ademola Adeleke, late last year, to review some of the appointments and, promotions made in the twilight of the Etola administration. Dr. Muyiwa Oladimiji joins us in the studios this morning. Thank you so much for joining us on Morning Spring.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Good morning.
So to start with, what's the status of those teachers? Are they still in the employ of the state government, or have they been sacked?
Well, you can't. It's not a question one will answer yes or no, because you have to look at it in its multifactorial sense. The teachers, just like many other new appointments, you will remember that when the governor took over during his inaugural speech, he said status every appointment after the election, status quo ante, that they should go to the previous appointment. So that interpreter, that means if you were just promoted a principal and you were a vice principal before, then go back to vice principal. And if you were a chief executive suddenly after that announcement, and before that you are not chief executive, then you go back to not being chief executive, status quo ante. So you can interpret, if you were not in the service of government as of the time the announcement was made, then of course it puts you in a very dicey situation. But notwithstanding that, when the teachers, when we came over, we're not in the business of wanting to sack anybody, because we understand, one, everybody needs a livelihood. Two, the functions that they're supposed to give are very useful and germane to society. But after that, there are also very serious implications. Some of the implications, you employ somebody, you have to be certain that you can pay it. This was part of the problem that the non-cooperation of the last administration, that's Oyetola administration, with the transition committee has caused. Because we didn't have all this problem if he had been smart, if he had been kind enough to at least let some of his people talk to us. These are some of the great areas we'll have looked at as a transition committee. But since that did not happen, we had to have different other 4 committees, one on chieftaincy, one on MOU, and one on assets, and my committee. Only the one on chieftaincy has submitted its report, because as you can see, I'm just showing I brought it so you can see the enormity of the.
Is this your final report?
This is part of it.
Part of your report?
Yes.
Also,
no, these are the petitions that we got.
Oh, you got petitions from the public?
We got petition, we got submission from the public. These are the things we got, and they're still coming. But we've now had to make a stop and say, no, we're not taking any more. Any other thing that comes now, we'll add it as addendum, which we didn't consider, because the committee was supposed to sit initially for 2 weeks. And as soon as we started, I went back to meet the governor, and I said, look, there's no way that we can finish this job in 2 weeks. We need. I said, please, just do a thorough job. I said, doing a thorough job means we must have time. And he said, yes, go ahead. So from that time on, petitions kept coming in. Petitions, as you can see, of course, I don't expect you to want to read it like this. What we are doing is putting it on a disk so that you can see Ministry of Health. If you have it on your laptop, you'll be able to see Ministry of Health, things, education, teachers, health, nurses, works, all the contracts and things like that. That's where it's on a dish. It's on a disk, but this is what it is in raw data.
So in the records of the Osun State government, those teachers are not known to the system.
That's a
their status is undefined.
Yes, that status.
So that means
undefined.
they are not employees of Osun State government.
Yes, no. You see, let me be straight with you. What's happening is that, as far as we are concerned, and we met some of the teachers. Some of them, they send a representative. We say, look, nobody has told you that you have been sacked, but we have to verify one thing. It's not enough to say I've employed you. All of us, it's also more important for me to say I have made arrangement for your wages, for your salaries. If I tell you I've employed you, Oyetola has not paid them till now. Those of them who claim that they have resumed. If I say I've employed you and I don't pay you in 6 months, then you have a right to say, hey, wait a minute, but you're just using me as a slave. You have not paying me what my dues. So that's why we are doing review of all the appointments, including that of the teachers, to see which ones we are going to be able to take, for example, and which ones we may not be able to take. But as much as possible, we will want to take everybody, but we have to look also at the accounts.
So, just before Emmanuel comes in, these teachers, we just spoke to some of them, and some of what they've been saying, but even before now, said, the fair thing to do to them will be to look at the fact that they followed due process, that this was part of a process that started March 2020, and that 2,500 of them was what was announced by the outgoing government, and the government had already appointed 1,000. That this was just a culmination of that process, and that there is nothing wrong, in what they have done, that they should not be visited with.
We're not saying that the teachers did anything wrong. We've not said that. It's the government, the immediate past government, that didn't do things in order. And of course, I don't expect the teachers to come and tell you that not everything didn't follow due process. I empathize with them. I'm a parent, and I'm also as a grandfather. And I wouldn't like my kids to be unemployed. And I also would like my grandchildren to have teachers if they were in this state, for example. So it's not as if anybody is anti-teachers or that we don't realize the importance of teachers. But the issue of whether they went through due process is part of the things we are looking at. So, but I appreciate that they would definitely and always say that that everything went through due process. But the other question, which I've already put, the other issue which I've put on the floor is that will they be happy if we now say you are employed, and that means they don't have to worry to look for other possibilities, and then we don't pay them? We'll have more. They will be upset. They will feel worse, and that will mean we are using them as slaves, and we are not slave users. We're a government that is considerate of the staff and of the people. So we're trying to sort it out, the issue of how to ensure we pay them, and the issue of how to make sure that the students or the pupils are also well catered for. This involves, it's a multifactorial issue. We have to be sure we have the fund. Why did Governor Oyetola not pay them? Some of them who have been employed for up to 4 months.
They said it came in late September 30, and that they were captured for payment into the payroll of the system of the state government late October. And the former government claimed that it had already prepared a salary for that month, but that it was Governor Adeleke that did not implement that. I talked about transition committee. I'm sorry to say we have no evidence to that their salaries have been prepared. You have no evidence to that?
No, we have no evidence to that their salaries have been prepared. We have no evidence that their salaries were prepared by the Oyetola government, because all civil servants, as you probably know, were paid their salaries. All the civil servants that were an employee, we did it, that's from November ending, December ending, and January we're going to pay them. So those who were captured on the payroll. These guys were not. And if they were not, then the question is, why? You see, it looks as if one is flogging the issue too much. If we had sat there just like you and I, we're all now sitting there, we would have asked the representatives of that government, look, you have employed these teachers, what are your plans? Where is the fund coming from? How did you employ them? Are they maths teachers? For example, we know that there's a shortage of maths teachers, there's a shortage of science teachers, there's a shortage of all types, different categories of teachers. There are some. And then, I don't want to say too much, but if you're discussing with somebody who is supposed to be an English teacher, and it's not as let's leave that beside,
I'm sorry, these are some of the things you saw in why current is to.
Yeah, I mean, no, while interacting with people, but that's not the issue. They're all certificated, so we have to accept whatever it is. But the point I'm saying is that, for example, there is some categories that are really desperately needed. We need maths teachers, we need science teachers, and we need French and English. We are very, very short of these ones.
All right, Dr. Ladimeji, you said, and of course it was documented, that Governor Adeleke during his inauguration said that all appointments should return to status quo ante July 16. Now, these teachers, the 1,005, have been in classes since they got on board in September. Was it?
You see,
was it fair that they were allowed to continue teaching even after Governor Adeleke had said everybody return to status quo? Why were they not told, okay, look, this is what the picture is, stop going to class for now, pending the announcement of our report? Beautiful question, but you should also ask it the other way around. When the governor makes an executive order, and it happens even with the civil servants, status quo ante, some of them come and say, there's nobody to relieve them, so they remain the chief executive or they remain on social level. They didn't want to, they've had it, they had the choice to say, well, now I've been told that I should go status quo ante, so maybe I should wait and go and meet this point as a why is this happening. But they keep going to school. Obviously, they like their job. Let's assume it's because they love the students, they love their job. And of course, that is also a way of asserting some pressure on the incumbent government so that we will have no choice but to take them sooner than later. That's it. But did the government have plans to plug the hole that would have been left if they had left the service themselves, the teachers now? Were there plans to have? No, that's a very interesting question. I will have asked you the other aspect. I've said that several times. Would you be happy if you were a teacher and you are kept in the classroom for 3-4 months, 6 months, and not paid? Don't you think that it is better we do our homework, lies, how much money we get, and how much can we pay? That's the crux of the matter. It's unfortunate, but that's the reality. Osho State has been vandalized economically. But that's not the topic for discussion now. So we have to make sure of that. The honeymoon will be over. They say, these people are just using me. That's worse for us as a government. It's better if say, look, they have not been employed. But one thing I can tell you, so which I hope those who are listening is that we are looking at the matter meticulously and seriously. We are not in the business of firing or sacking people. And the issue, some people think it's political. How many, do I know who of them is PDP, Labour, or APC? And is it in fact not democratic? Is that right? Even if they were Labour or APC, it's not an offense, it's not a crime. And we know that. We are rational enough, we are democratic enough, and we are enlightened enough to appreciate that workers can belong to different political persuasions. So the issue of it's the inability to be assert, to be able to say, look, we can pay, we can't pay, and these are the ones that were employed. We want to be sure how many of them are maths teachers, how many of them are English teachers, how many of them are French teachers, how many of them are science teachers, where they say there's their shortage. Their shortage.
Is that data not available at the Ministry of Education? I mean, those who superintend over the process, to know how many were recruited.
How many of these new employees are maths teacher? How many of them?
You're saying the previous government did not document that?
That's part of the things we looked into. That's part of the issues we looked into. It's not the number of maths teacher and science teacher is not as many as we would have wanted. So I'm sorry, I don't want to belittle any subject, but if all you have, if majority of the subjects you have are those that are already teacher already that you have, then you start asking more questions. If you have, for example, enough Yoruba teachers, and then you recruit more Yoruba teachers, then you start, I'm just giving an example, I'm not saying it's exactitude. Then you ask, why are you recruiting and not recruiting somebody to teach physics or chemistry or biology? Why are you not recruiting somebody to teach maths? You can't go into any higher institution if you don't pass English and maths. Abi? You can't. So why are you not recruiting those ones? Why are you recruiting for me these particular ones? I mean, Yoruba language is very beautiful. It's my language, and we're proud of it. But there are times when, I mean, if out of 10, look, the report will be out. I'm not supposed to start giving the report here. And when the report starts to be the public domain, the report will be out soon.
Interesting, because I was going to ask you, like, how soon should, because the teachers are, some of them are unsettled, some of them are very, very scared for their jobs, rightly so. And some of them don't even understand what the situation is, perhaps because of the terms that have been bandied around. You know, you've not been sacked, but you're not unemployed by the government. So they are in the limbo, as it were. How soon should they expect to know the
That's why I told you, I sympathize with that situation. I honestly do sympathize with that situation. But that situation was not caused by this government. It was not caused by this government. It is the reluctance of the immediate past government to interface with us. We will have solved it months ago. The election was won in July, isn't it? The result, and by end of July, we had contacted the last week of Oyetola's government. By August, we have a transition committee. Can you please give us people for them to interface with? And this issue will not have arisen. But that's bygone. Yeah, I sympathize with the teachers. I wish that the situation was different. And there are also two, maybe you haven't heard that, that's community health extension workers. They also are many. They are not nurses. They are two. They were also employed.
They were also employed in large numbers by that administration.
In large numbers. Yeah, all these people are necessary, but it's not enough to just employ. It's like, I mean, Western Television now tomorrow to employ 50 people, all of it. And I mean, if I employ, as I go and work in Western Television, I didn't ask your management and you how many people you need. You would think I'm just trying. I'm crazy. That's what you assume. If I just say go and take these 50 people I'm an employment agency. I'm sending them to you. Even if it was for internship, you are the ones who will tell me you want 5 or you want 6 or you want 10. But I say, I'm sending them to you. They want to do IT, and I send you 50. You ask me serious questions. How did I come by that number?
All right, Doctor. The teachers claim that their exams were conducted actually by JAM, in line with TESCOM and TEMPO and the Ministry of Education. In the course of your report, your activities, did you interface with JAM also to look at to ascertain the veracity?
We interfaced with the Ministry of Education. We interfaced with the Ministry of Education to check the veracity and things like that. We interfaced with the Ministry of Education. The Ministry of Education worked with NECO and co. And there's also an examination board in the government too. So we interface with them. I'm not going to comment on, some of them say they had 40, 41. I'm not going to comment on that. I'm not a teacher, and I was not the examiner.
Okay,
but
so
in my school days, I know what it is for you to get credit or distinction or pass in a subject, either both at the high school and at the university level.
Before Femi comes back in, I'd just like to ask for clarity's sake, the figures now, the cutoff mark, was it over 50 or 100? You know, you're saying 40, 41.
I am not, and I wasn't the examiner, so I'm not going to comment on it.
I mean, from the report, I'm sure you must have asked the question.
And I'm sure you don't expect me to give you a report now.
No, I'm saying
you just need to know, because 41, if it's about 50, over 100.
Thank you. The report has to be given to Mr. Governor first. It is after that, he will then say, you can discuss it with the whole world. You get it? I'm sure you appreciate that.
Okay, so I mean, altogether, so like how many people were recruited by that Ghana administration after that election? Because yes, I mean after the
total number of teachers are 2,500, 1,000.
Including the ones that were recruited earlier on, the 1,000.
Yes.
But I'm saying after the July 16 election, you know, that was what the governor's executive order, you know, sought to address.
Yes.
So how many?
The ones that were already before that time, who had resumed for that time, nobody's touching them.
Yes, I know, but I'm saying altogether, the teacher, because you just talked about CHU now, that's not in public domain.
No, it's in public domain. It's
so many people did not know. I mean, you're just telling us now that they also recruited CHUs. Many people did not know, yes.
Because yesterday, CHU came to the Imole house. A lot of them wearing their uniform white.
Those who are recruited after the July 16?
Yes.
So there are teachers, 1,005. There are CHUs. I understand that some are also employed at the State Broadcasting Service, and some of the, altogether, how many did you discover?
The new, if you want me to use the word emergency recruits.
Okay.
Yeah, the emergency recruits that were found so far are not less than 4,000.
4,000 across different sectors of the state.
That excludes the one in institutions. Because the schools have I'm not minus Osun State University. That's a different one. We have no problem with Osun State University, happily. But all the other institutions did their things in their own different ways.
And okay, your mandate does not cover.
No, they've been doing it like that all the time. I mean, all this is they end up, they have. Thank you, Femi.
No, Doctor, I know you're being guarded. I mean, understandably so, but it's also good to know. I mean, so that people also know the extent of what you met on ground.
Yes,
kind of challenges.
Look. When you have an institution that has 120 teachers permanent and has over 400 temporary teachers, then students full time about 2,000. Then part-time students about 4,000 something. Weekend part-time, there's this part-time, there's weekend part-time 2,000. That comes to 6,000, isn't it? All those part-time students don't go into their IGR. Government does not, in quotes, know about them. So you will assume and you will expect that from the IGR, those teachers, I said permanent teachers just about 200, maybe less than 200, and then the non-permanent ones about over 1,000, and yet they are paid 25,000 naira a month, which is even less than national minimum wage. Wouldn't that depress you? Wouldn't that frighten you? Wouldn't that irritate you? That's why I say it's a different ball game, but that's not the subject of discussion now. So, and then they keep employing it and admitting and doing all such funny things. That's a different ball game that we'll get to at the right time, where you may be worried about it at the time.
So, you know, understand.
They also employed. I mean, funnily, because the more they employ, I mean, go on.
So, you know, understandably so, the economic consideration, the capacity of the state to pay these workers, you know, is a main issue here.
Yes, the capacity of the state to pay the workers is an issue.
So you're saying Osun does not have the capacity to pay additional 4,000 workers?
Not well. You see, we are making some adjustments and this government is trying to be very prudent, and we're making adjustments in the management of resources. As soon as all that gets into fruition, we will be able to sort things out better. But if we depend on what we met, there's no way. And I'm sure that the immediate past administration knew there was no way they could pay, and they didn't even try to pay. That's why they said, okay, you go and start, let it be Adeleke's problem, let it be the new government's problem. That, I have no doubt about that. But we'll happily, and I can tell you this, that by God's grace and through prudent management of resources, through ingenious way of looking at things, we're going to diversify and we're going to meet those expenses. That's why, but they should also know that in this situation, there has to be some patience. Call for some patience. I understand they're presenting governors. We're not likely to sack them. We don't even wish to sack anybody. But also, if those who are in excess to needs, I hope you understand me. I mean, if I need, if objectively, I need 10 teachers to teach Igbo language, and I already have 15, and you are appointing under 10, I won't take those 10. I will not take them. But I will advise and try and see if there are areas that we can get them to.
Are you going
when we're going to do that, then we look at the score.
So are you going to conduct another interview, for instance, or do another process entirely?
We will not conduct another interview until we sorted these ones out. You don't start inviting others, new ones for interview, when the ones you haven't.
You know, I've been saying these ones that, you know, their status is incoherent now. Are they going to be subjected to another round of interviews or another process of recruitment?
I just answered you. I told you, I said, if I have 10, if all I need is 10, 5 or 10, and you give me that 10, I won't take them because they're access to my needs.
Okay. Emmanuel.
And if I have to, if you now say, how do I take the 10 that I need? Of course, it's the results that will guide me.
All right. So before we let you go, Doctor, these teachers who are already agitating now that you've said all of these things, the report is in the pipeline, and would you advise them to, at the moment, as of now, stop going to class? Would you ask them to do that? I'm
not going to answer that question because they are matured enough to take a rational decision about their circumstances.
Okay, so you don't have anything to say to them?
You're not going to ask them to stop going? You're not going to ask them to keep going?
Quote what I said. Repeat what I said. I said I'm not going to answer that question because they are matured and rational people. They should take their own decisions, based on the facts on ground. I'm not going to answer that question the way you want me to answer it.
Okay.
All right. We'd like to thank you, Dr. Muyiwa Oladimeji, for joining us on the program this morning, Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. Dr. Muyiwa Oladimeji is the chairman of the Staff Audit, Appointments, Promotions Review Committee set up by Governor Ademola Adeleke to look into appointments made in the twilight of the Gboyega Oyetola administration. Thank you so much for coming on Morning.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
And all the best.
So that's the show this morning. I hope Emmanuel will come back for what's trending.
We'll see about that.
Let's see.
Yes.
Let's see. Femi Olanikwekun is my name. Thank you. Good morning.